Guys, welcome back to another episode of the Conquerors crew. And I have a very astute, man, just awesome guest from the deep south, kind of like me. Lived in Dallas. He's from Dallas. I lived in Dallas. So, special place in my heart. And I am excited to talk to Steve Klein today. But, guys, as we always do, it's Humpity Hump Day. And I like to introduce and talk about the our three pillars, because some of you guys that watch the show, you forget what they are. And then some of you, well, it's the first time you've been here, and well, you just should know what they are. So the first one is hope. And for us at Conquerors Crew, hope stands for helping other people excel. And, I don't know if you've noticed in life, but I have, even if I'm down in the dumps and things aren't going as good as they should be or they could be, that, if you can just find some way, somehow, a way to just muster a little bit of hope in your life and give it away, it comes back to you that much faster. Hey, I didn't make the rule. I just kind of know it works that way. The next is grit. Okay. And for us, the G, that stands for grace. And I'm not talking about the kind of grace where it's like, hey, you give your friend a second chance in grace. I'm talking about, hey, don't quit. Don't be so hard on yourself. Give yourself a little bit of grace, man. And then the R is for resiliency. And people, I've had cancer 3 times and they say, oh, Trent, man, I never could have done what you've done. But you know what? You rise to the occasion and you can. But here's the thing, just you can't run an Ironman the first time you train. So it's one of those things, too, right? Where you need a little training before you get out there. And it's like anything else. We all have some of those skills and some of those talents, but you got to train them a bit. The I is for integrity, and the integrity I'm talking about is not where you say, "Hey, you're breaking the rules over there. I see you breaking the rules." The integrity I'm talking about is 3 o'clock in the morning, and it's like, "Hey, you're looking at yourself in the mirror. Are you being honest with yourself about the reason that you're sitting there looking at yourself in the mirror?" So just having a little bit of that integrity, and then the T is for teachable. And I think we always remain teachable and should remain teachable until we go on into the next place. And you know what? If you don't, you seem to get knocked off your high horse pretty quick and pretty easy. And so I've just always tried to just remain teachable in all situations and things. And hey, the last one, that really has no definition. It's hope, grit, and no quit. And those are our three pillars. Steve, welcome to the show. Thank you for listening to the introduction. Did any of those happen to just resonate with you, or did any of those that speak out to you? I'm just wondering. How you doing today, sir?
I am doing wonderful, thank you, Trent. They all of them hit me really well, but the one that hits me the most is no quit,
Love
because
it.
the name of my keynote talk show or speech is "Never Give Up: Secrets of Relentless Champions." So it's a matter of not quitting and not giving up.
I love it. I love it. So, yeah, that's awesome. Well, hey, I'm from the South, and are you originally from the South as well?
Oh no, no, I got here as quick as I could, but I started off in Chicago, where I grew up, worked my way through Nebraska, Kansas, and finally ended up in Texas.
Wow. So, that's cool. I lived in Dallas. My first big job, like, it's okay, the real job. My first real job was out of Dallas working with Accenture. You may have heard of Accenture maybe through the years. Heck, you may have even spoken there, because my God, it seems like you've spoken at every big place in Dallas, Fort Worth area. My heavens. So I lived there for a few years, and so how long have you lived in Dallas and been in Dallas?
Oh, I've been in Dallas just under 40 years. So I've spent most of my life here. So this is as far as I tell people, this is God's country. Everything's going on here. It's fun to be at, even though it's 100 degrees right now. It's still wonderful weather outside. It's better than the snow I was used to in the Midwest.
Hey man, I hear, you know what? My dad is from Syracuse, New York, and when he was 18, his grandparents lived in Minden, Louisiana, small town in North Louisiana. No one knows where that is,
Oh, I
but
know there. I know where that is.
do you really? My
I've I've driven through there.
yeah, that's pretty much it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go crazy here. Louisiana Tech. I mean, you probably drove through there too. That's where me, my family, all of my relatives, where my parents met. My dad was originally from Syracuse, and he left to come down to school and do that thing. And his grandparents lived in Minden, so you know how we were when we were college kids. Hey man, you're not eating for a week, and then when you go to grandma's house, well, you're gonna eat everything she's got for the weekend, right? So, that was the deal. I'm just kind of curious. What part of Dallas do you live in, and do you enjoy being in?
Oh, I love and enjoy being here. I live in Richardson, if you're familiar with that,
Yes,
just
sir.
just immediately north of Dallas, and it's easy to get anywhere in the metroplex. As I'm sure you know too, that there's a lot more traffic here than there was years ago. But at least I can get anywhere with the highways right now, as close as I am to Dallas.
That's it. That's it. So, you know, am I right in that you kind of did you begin your career, at a radio show? Was that kind of the start of your real job, so to speak? Was that it?
I'll go back a little bit to when I was in college.
Okay.
I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I first got into speech communication, radio, and TV because I thought I can get paid to be a disc jockey and just sit at a desk and talk and play records all the time. Well, it's a little bit more than that. And then I got a second major, which is journalism, news broadcasting, which brought me to my first job. It took me 3 months out of college to get my first job in South Central Nebraska, which was
Okay.
600 miles away from home.
Right.
And I was hired as a one-man news staff at $500 a month, working 18 hours a day, sleeping with a police monitor in my bedroom, going to the police station at 5 o'clock in the morning to clear the police log, and doing the first news broadcast in the morning. So that was my introduction into radio news. But I'd also worked at about 5 or 6 radio stations prior to that as a disc jockey while I was in college.
Man, that's what people don't see is the stuff behind the screen. They're like, God, it must be so awesome to do. You know what? I many years ago, I did a B movie with some friends and everything that was a producer, and we got a budget together, 150,000. So that, I mean, that was something. But my goodness, like I had this character that was kind of a Samson kind of thing, and my hair was super long. I mean, it was terrible. Getting ready for my scene that was 30 seconds would take hours. It's not cool behind the camera. Well, literally like this, that's kind of cool, but the part where no one sees, it's not glam, man. It is not, is it?
But it's everybody thinks it's showbiz and it's fun and exciting. It can be fun, it can be exciting, but there's a hell of a lot of work that has to go into what you have to do.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, so many hours into just having that 1 or 2 minute, isn't it? Um, and so you were working at the radio station, and it kind of didn't work out, right? Is something like that?
Oh, close to that. I had been there for 6 weeks. I moved everything. Everything there is a town called Hastings, Nebraska, in south central Nebraska. A
Okay.
town of 20,000, and I'd grown up in the Chicago area, which is a lot bigger than 20,000, and wasn't even a McDonald's there at the time. And 6 weeks into my new job as a one-man news director of a radio station, my boss took me out to coffee.
Okay.
And he asked me, if you weren't news, is there anything else you'd like to be doing? I said, why? He said, you're fired. So I sat there looking down at my coffee. He said, have you ever thought about going into sales? And I said, no. My dad was in sales, but he traveled a lot, so I never really saw what he did. I said, why? He said, we just hired a salesperson who has a background in news, and you two could switch jobs. I said, great. How much are you going to pay me? So I started negotiating. He said, the same thing you're making now, which is $500 a month plus 10% commission. I said, I'll take it. He said, you don't want to think about it? I said, no, it's the best job offer I've had in the last 10 minutes. So he said, this is kind of stressful. He said, go home, come back after lunch, and I'll give you what you need to sell. Now, I thought what I heard him say was, I will teach you how to sell. So I
Oh,
came back after lunch. He handed me a rate card, the price of the commercials, and a list of people to go see. And he said, go sell. And that was my sales training.
oh my gosh.
And I had to at the time I knew nothing about sales, so I was buying books about sales, buying books about being successful, and used that until it came to be. Matter of fact, I was found out by another company, and I was hired by a radio station in Kansas after that. There's a number of stories in the middle of that that I can go through, but it comes back to what I talk about as being relentless, and you do what you have to do to make it happen, and never quit, have grit, have hope, and focus on where you want to be, and you'll get there.
Look at this guy. He's bringing the pillars back all the way around, and we aren't even halfway through the show, man. Super cool. Super cool. So, now you did pretty well actually with doing the sales and that kind of stuff. Am I right? Have I studied right? Is that correct?
Like I said, I had to read a lot about what it took to be a salesperson. Now,
Yeah.
part of it was it was a small town, everybody got to know you,
Yeah.
and I was able to develop with my personality, get to know these people, became friends with them, and
Right.
once they trust you, they will spend money with you on the radio station. But
Yeah.
in addition to selling, I also had a 2 hour air shift as a disc jockey from 4 till 6 every afternoon. And I
Okay.
had an oldies show on Sunday that I did too. So I was very involved in all this. I got very involved with the community. And there was another radio station across town, and I became friends with the salesperson there. He got hired to another job just north of Hastings, Nebraska, which is called Grand Island,
Okay.
and they were looking for another salesperson, but they didn't want to pull another person from Hastings. So they
Okay.
had another station in Kansas. I interviewed there. Oh, let me back up a little bit. Since there was not a whole lot to do in Kansas, I learned how to fly an airplane. And to impress my future boss, I flew down to see him. And I was making, after commissions, about $700 a month. My future boss then said to me, we're going to give you a guarantee of $1,500 a month. Well, I said, because I was um, full of vim and vigor, I said, no,
Yeah.
I need to have $2,000 a month.
Oh,
So
okay.
we went back and forth. He said, fine, I will give you $2,000 a month, guaranteed, but you're going to come back to me after you get your first check and apologize. I said, why is that? He said, because you're going to be earning over $2,000 a month, which I did, and I apologized. So I had tripled my income by going to that radio station.
Wow, man, good on you, man. I can just tell that you're a hustler, man. And I think I'm a hustler too, as in not in a bad way, but as in like you just don't give up and you just keep going. Where do you think that came from? Where did you get that tenacity from, Mr. Steve?
It was learned partially.
Ah, yeah.
When I was in school, I was a slouch.
Okay.
I didn't realize back then that I had then, and I still have now, a learning disability. And that
Okay.
learning disability is I can't remember what I'm learning. I had to go over and over and over it
Okay.
to learn. I'd go home in high school and I'd spend 4 hours in my room studying just to get a B- average.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to. This is during Vietnam, and I
Okay.
did not want to serve in the military if you didn't have to. Now, my dad was a Marine,
Okay.
and I was going to join the Marines if I was going to get drafted.
Yeah.
But as it turned out, three colleges actually offered me the degree in their college. I took the one closest to home because I still had a girlfriend in high school, and I
Okay.
wanted to be close to her, which was a ridiculous reason to do it. But it was a good school. I learned
Yeah.
a lot. And during my freshman year, I didn't really know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I did some acting. I was a lead in a play, having a lot of fun. But by the end of your first semester, for those who've been in college, you know that at some point you have to pick a major. So I was flipping through the college catalog,
Yeah.
and the easiest major I came to was speech communication, radio, TV, film. I thought, great, I could be a disc jockey, and I could just sit behind a microphone and I could talk all day and get paid for it.
Yeah.
Well, again, it's not that easy. And
Right.
then I had a roommate my second year in college, and he said, "Who do you think makes more money, a disc jockey or Walter Cronkite?" I said, "Well, I'm dating myself here too." I said,
Yeah.
"Well, you're right."
That's all
So
right.
I picked up a second major, journalism, news, broadcasting, and
Yeah.
that's what led me to get that job in Nebraska.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Man, super cool. Super cool. So, that things that, life is just kind of going along and you're doing that. And then, so what happens next?
Well, I got to what's interesting is I hit a point at the station in Kansas that I
Okay.
wasn't going much farther. I was the number two salesperson out of five, and the number one salesperson had been there for 20 years, and he
Right.
had all the best accounts, and I kind of hit a stall area where I think I needed to do something else. My father was in the furniture business, and
Okay.
he had a furniture show in Dallas. And I thought, well, I'll drive down to Dallas and see my dad, which I did. I never
Hmm.
got farther than, if you're familiar with Market Hall, which
Okay.
is where John Kennedy was supposed to go to before
Yep.
he was assassinated.
Yep.
And he was there. I fell in love with Dallas, went back home, sent some letters to radio stations, and this is where I had a little bit of sass. The letters I sent to radio stations was, I want to interview you to see if I want to work for you.
Whoa.
Well, I got a
Okay.
couple of offers. I went down and interviewed with a few radio stations, and the last one I was at, I felt the best at. If you were living in Dallas, you might have remember radio station KLIF, Cliff,
Okay.
and that's the radio station I went to. It was in downtown Dallas,
Wow.
and went back to Kansas, and told my boss that I was giving him 2 weeks notice. He
Right.
said, "Do me a favor, don't tell anybody for 2 days." I said, "Fine, I won't say anything, but I'm putting my house up for sale."
Right.
So 2 days later, at 8 o'clock in the morning, I got a call from the CEO of this conglomerate that owned the radio station group that we were in. We were one of about 14 radio stations.
Okay.
And he said, "Klein, what the are you doing?" I said, "I found another job and it's going to pay me more money." He said, "Didn't you know what we had in store for you?" I said, "What?" He said, "We wanted to make you station manager of the radio station under the general manager and train you to be a general manager and move to Casper, Wyoming." Well, after accepting a job in Dallas, I could not see myself moving to Casper, Wyoming. So I went down to Dallas, and I'll add one more thing here too.
Yeah.
I didn't make a sale. I didn't make any money for 90 days. I
Okay.
couldn't make a sale. I knew nobody. And
Right.
after 90 days, I finally hit it, and I started making sales. I became the top salesperson there. And then I went to a few other stations after that, and eventually bought a franchise for a company that was selling self-improvement materials. And that's a whole other story we can talk about during the interview.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Um, wow. So, okay. And so at this point, you are, yeah, okay. I'm a little confused, okay, myself. I'm sorry,
That's all
between
right.
the Nebraska, the Casper, and Dallas, and tell me where you are, and now kind of where we are in the story.
Well, let me go back a little bit so I can illuminate this. I
Oh,
was in
perfect.
Nebraska for about a year and a half, then
Okay.
got the job in Kansas. I was there for, I believe, about 2 years. And then I moved to Dallas, and I was working at that radio station. Oh, I think it was about a year and a half, then a few other radio stations in Dallas until I developed a franchise for a self-improvement company. So
Okay.
I worked in addition to college, I probably worked at least a dozen radio stations all the way up till I finally got out of it.
Now this franchise for self improvement, does that mean that you were teaching people how to improve themselves, or tell us a little bit about that. I'm interested in that.
Well, let's go back to something that you had mentioned before
Okay.
about having the grit and the tenacity to do what I had to do. Well,
Yeah.
that all started coming from reading books about success, including Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and other books about being what it took to be successful. And part of it is you have to focus on the goal of what you have, do what you have to do to achieve that, keep that in your mind, and focus on that so strong that you burn a hole and actually make it happen. And that's when I started developing the grip, the hope, and the ability to never quit and never give up, no matter what I was doing. People would tell me many times that I needed to go on to do something else and quit. I wouldn't do it. I stayed with what I had. And I think, coming back to the question you asked me before, I think part of that came from my parents. My
Yeah.
father was very successful at what he did. My mother ran the home because my father wasn't home a lot because he traveled. But it
Yep.
was developed that I was reading a magazine called Success Unlimited. Now, that's what Success Magazine is now called. It used to be a smaller magazine, and on the inside back or on the back cover was an ad from a company in Waco, Texas. And if you mailed in a coupon, you received a free cassette tape with a condensed version of Think and Grow Rich, narrated by Earl Nightingale. So I ordered
Okay.
that, and that was a come on for them to get you down to Waco to sell you a franchise. And the
Okay.
company was called Success Motivation Institute, which I got involved in. I bought a
Okay.
franchise, and it was the first time I had any real formal training in sales. Even though I was self-taught, I never had formal training. And the CEO of that company said to me, do what I say to do and don't vary from it. So I did exactly what he said to do.
Okay.
And I developed a plan. It was called 15-5-4-3-1-20. 15 phone calls a day, got me 5 appointments, got me to see 3 people because a couple of people would cancel. I'd make a presentation to all of them, and one would buy. And then I'd ask for 15 referrals. Did that all the time. And what I called that was CCDA, correct, consistent daily activity. I did what I had to do to succeed every single day. For 7 years in a row, I was the top salesperson in the United States out of 500 for that company. And 2 years in a row, I was number one worldwide out of 5,000 salespeople. And people would come up to me because I do a lot of talks at the conferences and conventions,
Yeah.
and they'd ask me, "Tell me your secret. How did you learn to do this? How did you get so good?" I said, "Remember the material we were given when we bought the franchise?" They said, "Yes." I said, "Did you read it?" And they said, "No, not all of it." I said, "That's where it was. I did exactly what they said to do, and I followed through and I made it work." It's not surprising if you do what you're told to do to be successful and not quit and not give up.
You know, it just sounds like you're just saying, get back to the basics and do the simple things and do the things. I don't know if you've seen that quote by Tom Brady, and he says, you know what? You can be great, but you have to be willing to do the things that no one else wants to do. And that's what greatness is. And it sounds like that you have that. You just knew no matter what, I've got to make these many calls a day, that I've got to get to these goals, and I've got to. It's not like, if you will, and I don't mean this in any sort of derogatory way. It's not rocket science, but people can't do it, man. You got to just keep on. And you know what I'm hearing? I'm hearing consistency. That's what I'm hearing. And hey, good day, bad day, don't feel like it, got a cold, somebody's sick, something happened in the family, this and that, whatever, doesn't matter. Hey, you had a birthday party, you had a great day, you made a bunch of sales, but guess what? I think it didn't matter. The next morning, you were in the office and you were making your calls, you were doing your thing, and you were doing your stuff. And all that is telling me stay consistent.
You've heard the expression, I'll change it a little bit, stuff happens.
Yeah,
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 bad stuff happens all the time,
it does.
but you can't let that become a part of who you are, and you have to rise above it. There's a number of major bad things that happened to me, which I won't go into, and life goes on,
Yeah,
and you either let it pull you down or you rise above that. You take
yeah,
a look at any successful person, and Brady is one of them. They had to go through hell to get to where they were. They
yeah,
had to fight through everything, and it was the repetition, the consistency to get there where they wanted to go.
yeah,
I hear stories about kids that get out of college these days that accept a job and don't even show up the first day.
right.
At least go there and find out it's not something you want to do.
Yeah,
But you need to be the kind of person that is reliable, that will do what they say they're going to do, and follow through and make it happen. Now, I told you about a number of jobs I
yeah,
had. A
yeah,
point comes sometimes when you have a job where it's not really what you want, and you begin looking for something else.
yeah,
But you give it time to see what you need to do to get to where you want to be. And all of those things is a learning process. We
yeah,
have to go through the negatives to get to the positives. And
yeah.
positives don't happen unless we learn. I got one little comment I want to talk about if you give me a second to talk about this.
Absolutely. Yes, please go for it.
I learned about this when I was with the company out of Waco, and it's called the 10th multiple theory. Now, this is
Okay.
used in the financial industry. Here's how I'll explain it by telling a little story. Let's say you want to be worth $1 million, and you tell a friend of yours that you're going to be worth $1 million in 10 years. Now, you haven't seen your friend in 5 years, and your friend sees you, say, how you're doing towards your $1 million. And you say, great, I have $32,000. Well, your friend's going to laugh at you. And this is what the 10th multiple is all about. If you take $1,000 and double it 10 times, that's what it's going to take to get a million. Take 1,000, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 512, a billion 24. Now, at the halfway point, you still only have $32,000. At the ninth multiple, you have a half a million and still have to double that. But this is where people don't understand this process. I told you I learned how to fly an airplane when I was in Nebraska, and this
Right.
applies to this too. When I was learning to fly, my instructor told me to go all the way to the runway to give myself as much runway time as possible. He said, push the throttle in as hard as you can go all the way, go down the runway. As you're picking up speed, begin to pull the wheel back, and you take off. See, when you're flying an airplane, you can't take off until about 90% of the runway. If you take off a little bit before that, you're going to crash and burn. It's the same thing with anything we want to accomplish. If you don't stay with it long enough, you will crash and burn, and you complain that life is against you. You're not going to be able to be successful. But that's what
Yeah.
it takes to get to where you want to go.
Yeah. Yep. It's like I remember one of my professors or something. Somebody said in school, people that get a C and then just that little bit more gets you a B, and just that little bit more will get you an A. Because most people are willing to do that, and it's just that extra little step that it's just like it's a little step, but it's that much harder. Yeah. Interesting stuff. Um, you know, I have a note in here, and tell me if I'm getting out of sequence a little bit, but I'm dying to ask you. Now you co-own a football team. Can you tell us about that? Are we at that point, or is there anything
Oh,
in
it's
between? That you
oh
want to tell us to lead into that?
Oh, that's fun. I do a podcast, and I interview CEOs in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I've interviewed about 600 CEOs over the last 13 years,
Oh my.
and one of the individuals I was referred to was the owner of a indoor football team.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I got to know him. We became friends, and he asked me what if I'd like to buy into the team, which I did do. It was not inexpensive, but I thought I'm a big sports fan, especially football. So here's
Yeah,
my
me too.
chance to co-own a
Yeah.
football team. So I can say
Yeah.
I was an owner of a football team. Matter of fact, because I had a lot of background on radio, they let me be the stadium announcer one time too, and that was fun.
That's cool.
They did fold at one point, so I lost my money and they went out of business. But the year before they folded, they had tryouts, and I decided to try out for the team. Now, at the time I tried out for the team, I was twice, if almost three times as old as everybody that was there. I ran track in high school. I didn't play football, but I ran track in high school. And I was still at my age able to beat half of the 20-year-olds in the 40-yard sprints. Uh,
Wow.
I caught every ball that came to me. I ran all the sequences. I fell one time and rolled and bounced back up again. And nobody could believe that a person my age was trying out for the team. Now, I did not want to make the team. I didn't
Right.
want to spend my time doing that. But I just
Right.
wanted to prove to myself
Yep.
that I could actually do it. And I'm very very much into not only self improvement mentally, but self improvement physically too. I
Right.
exercise at least an hour a day every single day,
Wow.
and my weight is pretty close to what I weighed when I was in college, just a few pounds more. But I
Wow.
believe that you have to take care of yourself both
Yeah.
mentally and physically. I
Yes,
had a
sir.
good friend that just lost a few months ago, and he
Oh,
would read over 100 books a year. And
wow.
he said that's one of the ways that you need to get more information into you. No, I don't read 100 books a year. I do read more than most people,
Yeah.
but you need to you it's you need to have the input. There was a movie a number of years ago about robots, and this one robot stayed up all night and he was watching TV, and the woman that he was living with said, "Why'd you watch TV?" And he said, "I need more input." So you need to be looking for input all the time to get to where you want to be. Trent, I'm not sure where you are, but I'm here and I'll wait until you come back. I see you again.
I have no idea. Did I go? I did not ghost you. I mean, I have no idea what just happened. That was wild. I was like, where is he? Where is he? I'm sorry. Keep going. Keep going if you don't mind. Just yep, rock and roll.
Well, as a back to the phrase I said before, stuff happens. And
Yes, it does.
I mean, anything could happen to you. You could have a car accident, you could trip and fall. Anything could happen to you. It's not what happens to us, it's what we do with what happens to us. And
Yes, sir.
sometimes you have to go backwards to go forward. And I've been fired from a couple of jobs too,
Yeah.
and that's not fun. But
Yeah.
those are all learning experiences. There are steps along the way to get you to where you want to go. It's education is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. It's experience. If you don't mind, would you share, a few of the failures that have happened that you feel like have defined kind of who you are, and that would be applicable to others, and how did you get out of that? Can you give us a few tips and tools to say, man, when if you hit the rock bottom, this is how I got out of it, right?
Absolutely. The first thing is you really can't let your emotions get you. I mean, initially, when anything bad happens, you're emotional. I'm not
Yeah.
talking about crying or throwing a tantrum, but we're emotional when bad things happen.
Yeah.
Go through that. You need to cry for a little bit and then step out of it. A
Yep.
couple of things happened to me. I talked about that company the franchise I was working with,
Yep.
and we had a finance company that would finance some of the people that didn't have the money to pay cash. Now, what I was selling was anywhere between $500 and $1,000 per person, and we'd get a down payment and we'd see if they can get approved. Many weren't approved, so I would finance them myself. Well,
Okay.
got to the point where I was $250,000 in the hole. I
Oh,
owed $250,000. I had over 50 credit cards open, and I couldn't pay them. And the president, the CEO of the company, told me to file bankruptcy. Well, that's not part of my personality.
I hear you.
And what I had, we were getting phone calls every single day from these creditors, mostly credit cards. And I had most of that money I owed was in credit cards, and those are called dunning calls. And my secretary was answering them, and I knew what she was talking to them about, and I couldn't get work done because I was concerned about all these calls I was getting. So finally I said, we need to stop this. I said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to make phone calls to all these people and tell them we're going to pay them off. We're going to pay you as little as $5 at a time to pay this off. And I said, I want you to call them twice. I want you to call them before you go to the post office and tell them you're mailing a check. And then when you come back from the post office, call them again and tell them it was mailed. Well, I lost all of my credit except for two credit cards. Fortunately, I was able to keep. It took me 10 years to pay that off. I never filed bankruptcy, but I paid off that credit. It ruined my credit during that time, but now I have an A plus credit rating. This was a number of years ago,
Yeah.
and I did what I had to do to do that happen.
Yeah.
About 10 years after that, I was living in a home that my wife designed, and we decided that we were going to stay there. It was a two-story house. It was beautiful, and a fire started on a Saturday night up on the second floor, and didn't burn the house down, but burned a hole through the ceiling, bad enough we couldn't live there until it was fixed.
Wow.
The next morning, a fellow showed up that helps us get more money from the insurance company, and we told him we wanted to rebuild the house. He said, "Let me show you something." We walked into the lower level, the first level of the house. He cut a hole in the wall. He said, "Stick your hand in there." I stuck my hand in. My hand came out black with all the soot that was in there. He said, "The only way that you can live in this house safely is to demolish the entire inside of the house and then rebuild the inside of the house."
Okay.
Well, we looked at each other and said, no, we don't want to do that. So he helped us get the money to buy a new home. It
Yeah.
took me 7 months to get everything out of the house, to get rid of the stuff that was burned. There was more water damage than there was soot damage. But I had to go through there in the weekends wearing a mask, a white mask, and it was black when I got out. It took me, like I said, 7 months to get all that done. But these are the things you need to do to get to where you want to go. You don't just quit and say, I quit, I'm going someplace else.
Yep.
You have to take responsibility of anything that you want to do.
Yeah. It sounds like, that you just, well, we all have those, and I'll say it, shitty things that happen. And you just, it sounds to me like that I kind of am, follow the same thing you do, man. Hey, I'm just going to go step by step, and I'm going to step through this stuff, and I'm going to get to the other side, and it's going to be okay when I get there, but I'm definitely going to get dirty in the process, right? Yeah.
I mean, you
um
do what you have to do. Even if you were to get fired from a job, there are lots of places that could hire you. Maybe nowhere near the money you're earning, but there's ways to make money on your own or working for somebody else. Again, it may not be the job you want, it may not be as much as you want to
yeah.
make, but you do what you have to do to get to where you want to go. And a
Right.
lot of it is this thing right up here that we were
Oh
given at
yeah.
birth. It's a mindset.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate to develop the right kind of mindset. Now, I go through a lot of crap all the time.
Sure.
I have more people that don't return my calls or emails that do, but it's the ones that do are the ones that turn around to help me get to where I want to go, where I help them become more
Yeah.
effective too.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, tell me about get off your donkey.
Get off your donkey. That comes in the keynote talk I have of
Yeah.
never give up. There's a phrase that I use in there. People don't fail because they lack knowledge, education, or talent. People fail because of what they do not do. They don't get off their donkey. And I use the word donkey rather than another three-letter word that starts with A and ends with S. It's a little more politically correct. But you see people just sitting there and doing nothing. And it drives me crazy knowing that there
Yeah.
are people like that. Just get off and do something and find out you can't do it. That's one
Yeah.
thing you can check off and go do something else. But
Yeah.
you can't just sit on your rear end all the time and do nothing. You have to get back up and do something to make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I've got a funny one. And it used to be not so polite to call somebody a D head. So my thing for it was a ding dong head. Ding dongs used to be those little chocolate cakes that you could get from Little Debbie's, and I've been saying that since college. And my college buddies still say that today. That's kind of our code word. So I've got one like you with the with the donkey, Steve. I love it, man.
As a matter of
Anyways,
fact, when I do my keynote talk, just before when I talk, I throw up a slide of a donkey, so they understand. And in the opening part of my a keynote, I have everybody stand up. So I tell them to get off their donkey
yeah,
and stand up. And the exercise I have them do, I tell them raise your hand as high as you can raise it. Everybody in the group and in the audience has their hand up. I say, now
yeah,
raise it higher. And everybody raises it higher. Then I tell people, see, we can always do more than we think we can. I don't care where you are.
yeah.
Matter of fact, I haven't had a lot of surgeries, but because of I ran a track when I was in high school and I
Right.
blew my hips out. 10 years ago, I got one hip replaced, and a year ago, I got my second hip replaced. But I left the hospital the next morning. I could hardly walk, but I
Right.
decided I didn't want to stay in the hospital. And
Yeah.
I started walking, started with a cane, and did that for a week or so. And I pushed myself, and I now have no problems with either hip. People baby themselves too much with a lot of things they do. It's
Yeah.
amazing what doctors and hospitals can do. They can get you walking immediately, but I just got out of there as quick as I could so I could take care of myself.
Yeah.
And that's what people need to do. Decide what you want and focus. If
Yeah.
you take a magnifying glass and you hold it over a piece of paper on a hot day, especially in Dallas, that magnifying glass is going to cause the paper to do what?
Burn,
It's going
baby.
to burn. It's going to burn. But if you move the magnifying glass around like this, what's going to happen? Nothing.
Right. It's gonna disperse. Yeah.
It's all called focus. See,
Right.
see what you want to do, focus on that. And here's something else that happens. Our
Yeah.
mind is a mental magnet that attracts to us that which we focus on.
Yep.
We'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Think about the last car you bought. After you bought after you bought that car, did you see a lot more of those cars on the road? All of a sudden,
Everywhere.
everyone bought the same car you had. No, you just weren't paying attention. Women that get pregnant all of a sudden start seeing pregnant women all over the place, or
Right.
diaper commercials on TV. I'll give
Yep.
you two examples.
Yeah.
When I started my business, I was working out of my home and found out very quickly I needed an office. So as soon as I made that decision, I started seeing for rent signs all over the place.
Yeah.
I got an office, then I needed boxes to move everything, and I started seeing empty boxes everywhere. If we don't pay attention to what we want, we don't see what we need to get. Once you pay attention and lock into your head, we begin to attract to ourselves like a magnet what we need to do to get to where we want to go.
Yep. That's it. That's it. And that kind of leads me into, like this sounds like the qualities of what you think makes a great leader. What other qualities would you say makes a great leader?
Well, the things I talked about are
Yeah.
a big part of that. But a great leader is willing to take the fault when something goes wrong, admit that they were wrong, and do it. When a leader or anybody does that, I admire and respect them more than anybody else. Rather than saying, "Oh, it's not my fault. You guys didn't do the right job." You admit it, even if it wasn't your fault, because there's something you could have done prior to that to help them a little bit. And I think
Yeah.
leadership Leadership is a matter, and you can be a leader even if you're not a manager or an owner or a CEO. A leader is somebody that knows where they want to go, and people begin to follow them. It's almost like the Pied Piper. They follow them, and they want to be a part of that feeling they're getting. That's one of the
Yeah.
reasons I went to work for that company out of Waco, Texas, because
Hmm.
they were all winners and I wanted to be more of a winner. And I was following the man that started that company. He was the first person to become again, $1 million roundtable in the life insurance industry back in about 1959. He was 28 years old. He was the youngest person to do that. And that's why I decided to learn the teachings that he wanted to teach us because he learned that from being in the life insurance business. Pardon me.
Wow. No, no, no. All good. All good. Um, and kind of on the other side of that, you know, what would you say to somebody that's that kind of just feels like giving up, that feels like quitting?
Everybody feels like quitting sometimes.
Yeah.
And with everything I've gone through, and I'm sure you have too, because you
Yes,
talk
sir.
about those three things, and you know to understand that everybody has the feeling of wanting to quit and give up.
Yeah.
Uh, but then you need to have some time to have some self-pity and cry. Once that's out of the way, get off of it and look at what you have to do. One of my favorite movies is a Forrest Gump. Now,
Okay.
if you remember that movie, he was a little bit addled, but when he did something, he focused on it to make it happen. One of the examples is when he was playing a football in, I think it was high school. His coach said, "When you get the ball, run and don't stop." Well, he
Yeah.
took him literally. He ran right through the stadium.
Yeah.
And then when he started his shrimping business, he had no idea what he was doing. And his best friend that wanted to go into business had gotten killed in Vietnam. But he said he wanted to do it and honor his friend. He didn't know what he was doing, but he found out what he had to do and he became successful. And then
Yeah.
he started running and he ran across the country.
Yeah.
He didn't know he was going to do that, but he just kept going.
Yeah.
It's amazing with what we do once we get the machine rolling and we learn what we have to do.
Yeah.
Dyson, the man that developed the vacuum cleaner,
Yep.
had
Yep.
this idea for a different type of vacuum cleaner. And it took him over I think it was 5,400 iterations of designing the vacuum cleaner before it got right. He and his wife were so poor, they would pull the cushions out of the sofa to look for change to buy dinner that night. He
Wow.
was making no money. And his wife kept saying, "Why don't you quit and give up?" He said, "No, no, I know I can do it. I'm close." But it's that graph that goes like this. And at the very end, you get it. The reason that more people are not successful is they give up in that 10th multiple. They give up
Yeah.
before they hit that ninth multiple spot, and they never find out what they will do to get true success.
I love it. I love it. Now you have a book that you've written, and tell us about tell it yes tell us about that book. It looks the cover's a little scary.
Sell when you see the whites of their eyes. That comes from when the British were invading and they were in Baltimore,
Okay,
and
I
the
understand. Yep.
Americans said, "Don't shoot them till you see the whites of their eyes." In other words, till you get closer.
Right.
And that's why I named the book what I named it. Sell when you see the whites of their eyes. And there's
Yeah.
a story behind that. Can I tell you that story?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, let's say you're in a major city. Let's just say New York, and
Okay.
it's at night, and maybe it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and you're in a hurry to get someplace, and to get there quicker, you're running through an alley, and a guy jumps out and starts throwing rocks at you. Well, you could turn and run, or you could pick up the top of a garbage can and hold it in front of your face so the rocks bounce off the lid of the garbage can.
Yeah.
That's what sell when you see the whites of their eyes is all about. We can't sell someone until we get close to someone. And we have to be open to them to make that happen. And the
Yeah.
way to get them to pull their garbage can lid down, because what happens when you attempt to sell somebody, sometimes they put the garbage can lid up because they don't want to be sold.
Right.
Similar to when you go into a retail store and you're looking around at something, and the salesperson says, "Can I help you?" Here in Texas, they don't use the word help. It's "Can I help you?" And you say, "No, no,
Yeah.
just looking." They put the garbage can lid up. Well, the ideal way for a retailer to talk to a person, instead of saying, "Can I help you?" It's, "You look like you have some interest in that there. What kind of questions do you have?" And that's what opens it up. You want to ask questions to people, and that's a big part of what this book is all about. It's helping understand how to get close to a person. You don't have to be a fantastic person with words. You don't have to be the hotshot salesperson. You have to get the person to trust you. And
Okay.
you get them to trust you by asking them questions, opening them up, getting them to talk about what you want, and either you have something that can help them and you show them how it will help them solve their problem, or you maybe refer them to somebody else to if they can help them. But that's what it's
Yeah.
all about. It's helping people get to where they want to be. This book was developed from a lot of the training I did.
Okay.
For people that
Okay.
want to take a look at it, it's Sell When You See the Whites of Their Eyes. It's on Amazon. You can
Yep.
check that out.
Yep.
But it's taking you step by step and doing what I called CCDA, correct, consistent daily activity.
Yep.
Figure out what you have to do. You take a look at any athlete, any pro athlete, aside from what they're doing in with their team, if they're in a team sport, they're doing things on their own the same way every single day. You take a look at Tom Brady, you mentioned him earlier. I've seen interviews with him where he would work out and do things on his own, going above and beyond what the coach had them do in practice.
Right.
That's what
Right.
all successful people do, but
Yep.
they do it every single day. I'll give you one
Yeah.
more example.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
still use this calendar. I don't use a digital one, and I have
Okay.
my calendar in there. This is my sheet. I don't know if you can see the X's on there. These are
Yep.
all the things I want to get done every single day. I get them done. The other thing is I want to make at least 20 phone calls a day. I make 20 calls every day. It comes back to when I learned the 15-5-4-3-1-20.
Yep.
You do what you have control over. Now, of those 20 people, those are phone calls or emails. Does everybody respond back to me? No.
Right.
Did the majority of them not respond back to me? Yes. But I keep doing it every day. Now, a couple of things happen. People do business with me, but I get better at what I'm doing by putting in the reps. You take a look at
Yes.
any athlete, it's all about the reps.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Most people can't do 5 or 10 push-ups. I won't tell you what my age is, but I'm much older, and I can regularly do my age and push-ups every day. Well, I'll let it slip out here. I do
That's
my
awesome.
age and push-ups plus one. I'm 74, so I do 75 push-ups every day. And
That is
people say,
awesome.
that's what people say. How can you do that? I started with one. I couldn't do one push-up. I then did
Yep.
one, and what happened is each year, I didn't start when I was 1 year old, but I got up to about 20 or 30 push-ups, and I started adding one more each year.
I love it.
And I got up to 75, and I'm going to keep doing it
Yeah.
until I can't push up any further. And there's
Yeah.
other things that I do, but you develop a rhythm with what you're doing, and that
Yep.
rhythm helps you get to where you want to go.
Yep. 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 Man, you are a wealth of knowledge, Mr. Steve Klein. I just thank you for coming on the show and talking to us and sharing everything. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about, that you'd like to cover, any points that we haven't discussed or anything?
Not really, but at the beginning of all of this, you need to find out something that you have the passion to do. Now, when I was in high school, I took every job I could find. My very first job was
Right.
being a caddy on the golf course. Now that I quit
Okay.
after one time. I couldn't
Okay.
see myself walking in grass for 18. Yeah, I had to carry the bag, which was
Yeah.
heavy. which I'd never done before. I was
Right.
15 years old, and it was hot outside during the summertime, and I said, no, I'm not doing that. And at the time, it was $2.50, and I made for doing that. So I quit and
Yeah.
I gave up.
Fair enough.
Everything after that, I decided I wanted to have a passion for it, or I was going to quit. I have a passion for certain things in my life, and everybody does. Look for something that fuels your passion.
Yeah.
When you have a passion, it's not about the money. It's about doing the things you want to do. I'm not going to retire at any point ever because I enjoy
Me. Yeah.
doing what I do.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
It's just something I decided to do. It's quiet outside.
Yep.
I get up, I walk my dog in the morning. We walk for about 40 minutes. I come back and I have a Stairmaster, and I do the Stairmaster for about 20 minutes.
Yep.
I then get ready for the day. I'm sitting in my office at home, but I have an office outside my home too. It's only 3 minutes away, so it's nice and close. I get there and
I love it.
I do my calls then I leave the office, do my calls every day.
Yeah.
But I have a system and it works and I enjoy doing it. Now,
Yeah.
does everything work for me all the time? No.
Right.
Crap happens and you have to
Yeah.
yourself through it.
Yeah.
If you know Dallas, the traffic is getting worse in Dallas because there's so
Oh
many
yeah.
people moving here
Yeah.
and it gets harder to get someplace, but it's things you don't have control over that you can't worry about.
There you go.
And I would
Yeah.
say the number one thing for anybody to get anything out of this interview we've had together, Trent, is to figure out what really gets you going. What is it that gets you going? And I'm not talking about the things like drinking or smoking or whatever it is.
Right. Yeah.
Something that can make money
Yeah.
um, and have some fun doing it. And
Yeah.
you may not get here, but even if you get here and you're excited and you have a great day, that's all that really counts. And also take care of yourself too. You need to remain healthy. There are
Yeah.
certain things that happen to us that may pull us down. One thing I have, and I've had about 5 or 6 kidney stones. For those who've ever had one before, you know how
Oh.
painful they are. I
Yep.
have one in me right now that doesn't seem to want to come out.
Ah.
But it's they don't kill you. At least I
Right.
haven't heard of a person dying from a kidney stone.
Yeah.
But they're
Well, the
also
pain feels like it's gonna kill you.
oh yeah. I've talked to women that have been pregnant and have kidney stones. They said the kidney stones are worse than the pregnancy.
Pregnancy. Oh man.
But it's not going to take up your entire life. You're going through some pain at some point,
Yeah.
and that's what life is all about. And to
Yeah.
get to where you want to go, you have to wade through that. I'll give you one more thing that I talk about in
Okay.
the keynote talk about. These are
Yeah.
the 5 things that I recommend people do.
Okay.
Number one is to lock your sights. Lock your sights on what you want to have and be focused on that. So focused, that's all you can see. Get locked in. Number two is to stop thinking. Once you lock your sights and you get the passion of what you want to have, quit thinking and let the ideas come back to you. Number three is to own it, then own it.
I love
Believe
it.
believe you were where believe you are where you want to be before you get there. See yourself there and everything you begin to attract to yourself. Number four is to eat nails for breakfast. Do the hard stuff first. Get them out of the way during the day. The first things I do in the morning is a checklist I showed you of all the things I do. I do the hard ones first to get those out of the way, and the rest
Yeah.
of the day is easier. And then number five is to bounce back. No matter what happens to you, bounce back up again to where you want to be. So it's uh, lock your sights,
Yep.
stop thinking,
Yep.
own it and own it, eat nails for breakfast, and bounce back. You do those
I love
5
it.
things, you may not get to where you want to be, but you're going to come a hell of a lot farther than where you are right now.
I love it. I love it. Hey, so we're winding down, and your website is steveaklein.com, right?
That's correct, right?
It's Klein, just like how you spell it, Klein, Steve with an A as an apple, Klein. And is that the best way to get in touch with you to buy your book? The book's on Amazon, guys, and it is tell us again, sell when you see the whites of their eyes, right?
You got it. Now, there's something else I do too. People can connect with me on LinkedIn.
Oh yeah,
Um,
okay. That's your other
that's
thing. Okay,
LinkedIn/in/Steve A. Klein, Klein, and
okay,
you'll find me and connect with me on LinkedIn. My email is steve@steveaklein.com.
wonderful.
Anybody that connects with me on LinkedIn or that emails me, I will send them my Relentless Toolkit. It's about 4 or 5 pages. And I didn't talk much about being relentless, but this goes back where you talked about at the very beginning, which
Yeah,
is not quitting. A relentless person doesn't quit and give up. You
yep,
have to be relentless, and that comes with a passion. But yes, I will send that to anybody that asks for it,
yep.
and hope that can be of help them become relentless and achieve whatever they want.
Sure. So, Steve, what you do now? Do you do one-on-one coaching or anything like? Because I know you're a speaker, I know you're an author, and so do you do coaching with people and stuff like that? Tell us your toolkit of things that you do.
I guess I do coaching. I
Okay.
do one-on-one coaching. I also do coaching with groups, usually with
Right.
the same company.
Sure.
And I have materials that I use to help them get off where they are now and where they want to be.
Sure.
And it's multi-sensory. Everything is audio. Everything is recorded, so they can listen
Okay.
to it over and over again.
Yep.
And the tool we use is called spaced repetition. 62% of everything we know has been presented to us at least 6 times. Advertising, just do it. We know that from Nike because you've heard
Heck
over and over
yeah.
again. So
Heck
I
yeah.
work with people and brainwash them
Yep.
into getting to where they want to go. So they hear it. It's
Yep.
also written. The same thing that's on audio is written. So now they can hear it over and over again in their car while they're
Yep.
driving and let it
Yep.
sink in. They can also read it. And then the third piece is the action plan to start working on what they want to have. So I
Yep.
help them listen to it and sink it in brainwashing, help them
Yep.
read it, and then help them develop a plan of action to get to where they want to go through my coaching.
And you would do that? Do you do that with people that are like having problems with sales or with life issues or anything like that? If it's overcoming a life obstacle, then your system can apply to them. Would that be fair to say?
Oh, absolutely. I've had 100% success with every single person I've worked with on it that stayed with it. There are a lot of people
Right.
that will do business with me, spend some money, and they won't
Yep.
follow through with it.
Yep.
But it's a matter of staying with it
Yep.
to make it happen. And yes, I'm successful working people, and I do have specific programs for sales, for leadership, and then for general goals, achieving anything you want to have, and
Love
helping you
it.
develop a plan to get to where you want to go.
Love it. Now, guys, you know what? I always tell you this. Steve can't read your mind. If you like what you've heard, you like what you hear, you have to make the first step. You have to contact him. You got to send him a message. You got to get on his website. You have to do that because he doesn't know who you are. And I'm sure that if you send him that first message, he will meet you where you are and you guys can go from there. And I always preach that if you feel the need and you feel that little voice talking to you, then contact them and it'll happen, man, because that's what we're all about here at the Conquerors Crew is helping people conquer that thing that's getting them. So thank you. Those were great tools. I'm so thankful to have you on the show. Much appreciated. And anything else that you'd like to drop before I take us out?
No, Trent, this has been wonderful. You've asked the right kind of questions. You're obviously very passionate about what you do,
Yes, sir.
and you're passionate about people like myself that have the same kind of beliefs that you have. But you know as well as anybody else that if you don't get focused on what you want to do, life goes right by. And
That's it.
if anybody does contact me via email or through my LinkedIn, I'm not going to try to sell anybody anything. I've never done that.
Right.
I'm just going to ask you a few questions and give you some direction. I might have some ideas for other things you could do besides working with me, but there's
Yep.
lots of things out there you can do. One of the big things I would recommend people do is read. Go buy some books or go to the library and get books and read. But buy books on things you have some interest in, and that might
That-
fuel your passion to get to where you want to be.
That's it. That's it. Man, hey guys, Steve A. Klein, what a rock star, man. I love this guy, Dallas guy. That's special to my heart. So, guys, I'm taking us out. God bless. Godspeed to you this week, and never forget that grit. Don't quit. We are out.